Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today into something, maybe a little unconventional.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about cats. Well, not just cats, but like cat energy, or as the essay we're looking at puts it, tuning into a cat's vibration.
Ooh, that's a good one. I love that.
Right. It's catchy. And it got me thinking, like, is this just a bunch of new age fluff? Or is there actually something to this whole cat vibration thing?
Well, I think that's what we're here to find out.
Right,
And
totally. So the essay starts off by talking about how ancient cultures viewed cats. And it's really interesting. It wasn't just as pets, they were like revered, sacred, even
it's true.
like spiritual beings almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And the essay really digs into this, with ancient Egypt, for example. They were
Yeah.
super connected to the goddess um, Bastet, right?
Yeah, Bastet. Okay, so for people who aren't familiar with Egyptian mythology,
Sure.
can you give us a little rundown on who Bastet was and why cats were associated with her?
Yeah. So Bastet was a pretty major goddess in their pantheon. She was all about protection, fertility, home, all that good stuff.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, why cats, though? Like, what is it about cats that made the ancient Egyptians connect them to those concepts?
Well, you got to think practically, right? Cats were amazing at pest control, which was, huge back then for protecting crops, keeping disease away. That natural ability to protect could easily be seen as like a divine power, connecting them to Bastet as this guardian figure.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
And cats are, they're graceful, they're elegant. That could definitely tie into the fertility and beauty aspects, too.
Absolutely. It's like they saw those qualities reflected in the animal itself and then projected that onto the divine.
Right, right. And the essay points out that this wasn't just an Egyptian thing either. Norse mythology links cats to Freyja, right?
Yeah, Freyja.
Yeah.
And she was their goddess of love, magic, fertility.
Okay, so similar themes.
Very similar. And her chariot, get this, was said to be pulled by cats.
Wait, seriously? Like a cat-drawn chariot. That's amazing. But okay, it does speak to this idea that ancient cultures saw something, like a power or a mystique in cats that went beyond just their physical form, right?
100%.
Hmm.
And that's where this whole idea of their vibration comes in.
Okay, so let's talk about this high vibration thing. I'll admit, it's a little out there for me. Is this like a new agey term? Or is there something more to it?
Yeah, it can definitely sound a little woo-woo, but the essay actually, it doesn't really give a hard scientific definition, but it explores this idea that cats embody a certain kind of energy.
Yeah.
And that energy's, it's about presence, balance, harmony.
Okay, I can kind of see that. Like cats definitely seem to have this like calming presence and they always like land on their feet, which I guess is a kind of balance.
Right.
But how does that tie back to vibration specifically?
Well, think of it this way, and this is something ancient cultures are really tuned into. Everything in the universe is made up of energy, and that energy vibrates at different frequencies, right?
Okay, so like everything's vibrating, even us, even the chair I'm sitting on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Got it. And ancient cultures, they kind of understood this intuitively. They had all these practices like chanting, using sound to like work with those vibrations.
Right, like those Tibetan singing bowls.
Exactly, yeah. And the essay, this is where it gets really interesting. It suggests that cats with their purrs might be tapping into something similar.
Oh, interesting. So like cat purrs as a form of sound healing. Is there like any evidence for that?
Well, the essay goes into the science of purrs, how they fall within this specific frequency range, 25 to 150 hertz. And get this, there are studies showing that those frequencies can actually promote healing.
Whoa, no way.
Yeah, strengthening bones, reducing pain, even helping with tissue regeneration. So maybe those ancient cultures were onto something with their sound healing practices, right?
So you're saying like sitting with my cat while it's purring is kind of like a modern day sound bath.
It's a wild idea, right? But it makes you think maybe there's something to these high vibration concepts. Like it's not just spiritual metaphor, but maybe it's grounded in real science that we're just beginning to understand.
Okay, so we've talked about purrs and frequencies, ancient cultures, but I want to bring it back to like something a little more tangible. How do we actually sense this high vibration in cats? Like, can you see it? Can you feel it? What is it?
It's a good question, and honestly, the essay doesn't really give us a straight answer, but it does give us some clues. Think about how cats behave, right?
Yeah.
They love sunny spots. They usually avoid like cluttered or chaotic places, and they just seem to have this sense for when something's off in a room, like a sixth sense almost.
Right. It's like their little energy radars always finding the most like harmonious and balanced spot in the room to chill out in.
Exactly. And that brings us to another really cool concept the essay talks about. Cats, as guardians of energy. Like in ancient cultures, cats weren't just protectors from physical threats. They were also seen as protectors from, like, spiritual disturbances.
Oh, interesting. So they weren't just keeping the mice away, they were keeping the bad vibes out too.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
In a lot of cultures, cats were believed to be really sensitive to unseen energies, things that we humans just can't perceive.
Like spirits or like negative energy.
Could be. The essay doesn't really get into the specifics of what those energies might be, but it does suggest that cats have this heightened sensitivity to the subtle vibrations around us. Like they're picking up on stuff that we're totally oblivious to.
That's pretty wild and kind of spooky if I'm being honest.
Oh.
But if cats are so attuned to this stuff, is there a way for us to learn from them? Like, can we develop our own sensitivity to those energies?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And the essay seems to think so. It points out that cats have this amazing ability to just, like, become totally still, super focused, like they're looking at something that's invisible to us.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like when they stare at a blank wall for like an hour.
Exactly. Or when they suddenly dart off as if they've seen something, what was that?
Where'd you go?
Right. And the essay suggests that maybe, just maybe, those moments are actually opportunities for us to learn from them. Like by paying close attention to their behavior, those little shifts in their energy, we might start to pick up on things that our conscious minds normally filter out.
So it's like a mindfulness practice almost, like paying attention to those little cues that our cats are giving us about the energy of a space or a situation.
Exactly. And the essay even suggests that things like meditation, which help us to quiet our minds and become more aware, can actually enhance our ability to perceive these subtle energies.
So in a way, our cats are like our little furry meditation guides, showing us how to tap into a deeper level of awareness.
It's a beautiful way to think about it. It challenges us to see our relationship with cats as more than just companionship. It could be a pathway to exploring our own intuition, our own connection to the unseen world.
I love that. This is all so fascinating, but I gotta be honest, it still feels kind of abstract. Like if I want to start actually tuning in to my cat's vibration, where do I even begin? Do I need to like buy special crystals or learn ancient chants? What do I do?
Well, the good news is the essay actually offers some pretty practical advice. It suggests starting simply by just, spending time with your cat. But not just like passively hanging out. Be really present in those moments. Observe their behavior, notice how they move, how they react to different things.
Okay, so pay attention to the little things, like how they choose their napping spots or how they react to like a loud noise or something like that.
Exactly. And remember that insatiable curiosity we talked about earlier. Like, cats are masters at finding wonder in the everyday, right?
Oh, yeah, they're so curious.
So the essay is encouraging us to tap into that too. Observe how they explore, how they find joy in the smallest details.
So I should be more like my cat, basically. More curious, more present, more attuned to the subtle energies around me.
In a way, yeah. It's about embracing those qualities that cats embody so naturally. Presence, curiosity, balance, harmony. And the more we cultivate those qualities in ourselves, the more we might start to perceive the world through a similar lens, a lens that's tuned into those subtle vibrations that connect us all.
This has been so eye-opening, honestly. I'm starting to see my cat in a whole new light. Not just a pet, but like a potential guide to understanding myself and the world around me better.
That's awesome. And it all comes back to that question the essay asked. What will you discover when you allow a cat to guide you towards higher frequencies? It's different for everyone, and the journey's never really over.
Okay, I'm really digging this idea of like cats as these energetic beings, right? But I'm curious, how did those ancient cultures actually work with that cat energy? Did they have like specific practices or rituals or anything like that?
It's funny you should ask that. The essay actually does touch on some really interesting ways that ancient cultures honored and interacted with cats, specifically their energy.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's not just about having cats around. They really incorporated them into like their spiritual practices in some pretty fascinating ways.
I'm intrigued to tell me more.
Okay, so let's go back to ancient Egypt for a sec. Remember Bastet, the goddess of protection and all that?
Yeah, the cat goddess.
Well, the essay points out that cats weren't just like symbolically linked to her. They were actually part of rituals and practices that were meant to like tap into her energy.
Okay, like what kind of rituals? Give me the ancient Egyptian cat magic.
All right. So one example is the use of like cat imagery in amulets and statues. People would wear these amulets for protection, believing that they channeled Bastet's power to like ward off negative energy and bring good luck.
So it's like they were like creating a physical link to that protective energy, carrying a little piece of Bastet with them.
Exactly. And it wasn't just personal protection either. Cats were also believed to protect homes and temples from, from spiritual disturbances. Their presence was thought to maintain balance and harmony in those spaces.
Hmm. That actually makes a lot of sense considering what we talked about earlier with like creating high vibration spaces in our own homes. Maybe the ancient Egyptians were onto something with their like intentional use of cat imagery and symbols.
Right. It's a cool connection. It suggests that we can actually draw inspiration from those ancient practices, not necessarily by, recreating their rituals exactly, but by understanding the principles behind them.
So instead of wearing a cat amulet, maybe it's about being more mindful of like the objects and images we bring into our homes, choosing things that, evoke those qualities of balance and harmony that we associate with cats.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our environment has an energetic impact and that we can shape that energy consciously, just like those ancient cultures did.
This is making me rethink my whole apartment decor, honestly. Are there any other examples of how ancient cultures worked with cat energy? I'm like super fascinated by this now.
Oh yeah, totally. Let's hop over to ancient China for a minute. Cats were super valuable there too, mostly for like controlling pests and protecting crops, that sort of thing.
Right, practical stuff.
Yeah. But they were also seen as symbols of good luck and prosperity, which is pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, I've definitely heard of those lucky cat statues, the ones with the waving paw. Are those connected to that ancient belief?
They are. Those statues, they're called Menekineko, and they actually originated in Japan, but they're definitely rooted in that ancient Chinese reverence for cats. The raised paw is thought to beckon good fortune, inviting abundance and prosperity into like homes and businesses.
So it's like they were using the image of the cat to like attract positive energy and create a good luck vortex, basically.
Uh-huh, exactly. And it just goes to show that these seemingly simple practices that are rooted in ancient wisdom can still like resonate with us today. It's about recognizing that there's more to our world than we can see, and that we can actually tap into those subtle energies through intention and awareness.
This has been such an incredible conversation. Seriously, I'm like looking at my cat with fresh eyes now.
Yes.
It's not just about, the cuddles and the purrs anymore. It's about recognizing that maybe, just maybe, they're guiding us towards something deeper, something more connected.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And remember that question the essay left us with. What will you discover when you allow a cat to guide you toward higher frequencies? It's a question with a different answer for everyone, and it's a journey that never really ends.
So true. And on that note, I want to encourage all our listeners to, embrace that curiosity. Explore your relationship with your feline friend. See what you discover. You might be surprised. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of cat vibrations. Until next time.